Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a look at a truly mind-bending premise that completely changes how we view one of television's absolute most beloved sitcoms. We're exploring what I like to call the Joey ripple effect. Because, what actually happens when you rip out a core piece from a seemingly perfect pop culture puzzle?
So, what if Joey was recast after season 1? Seriously, I want you to really imagine this alternate timeline with me for a second. We're not talking about Joey moving away to another city or the character just getting written off. We're talking about the actor, Matt LeBlanc, being entirely replaced literally just as the show was finding its footing. I mean, it sounds absolutely impossible to us now, right? But back when the show first aired, nobody knew it was going to become the massive global phenomenon that it is today.
Section 1. The 1994 starting line. Let's look at things before the global stardom hit.
To really understand how dramatic a casting change like that would have been, we have to remember the cast weren't the incredibly highly paid global superstars we recognize today. They were just talented, working actors trying to make a brand new sitcom work. Their chemistry, it was very much still developing. Let's trace this hypothetical point of divergence. Season 1 ends, and, well, let's say there are scheduling conflicts, or maybe contract negotiations just flat out fail. So the producers have to make a really tough call, and they decide to recast Joey. Suddenly, when season 2 begins, Joey looks completely different. And you have to remember, in those very early episodes, Joey was originally written as basically just a struggling actor on paper with a pretty simple outlook on life. He wasn't yet the legendary, fully formed character we all quote today.
Moving on to Section 2, the rhythm of Joey, and how he was so much more than just a character.
Now, what's really interesting here is that Joey presents a totally unique challenge when it comes to recasting. Why? Because Joey wasn't just a character described in a script. He was a distinct comedic rhythm. And replacing a rhythm, that is infinitely harder than just replacing a face on a poster. When you consider Matt LeBlanc's highly specific performance choices, that lovable innocence, the genuine childlike enthusiasm, his incredible ability to be totally clueless but somehow clever at the exact same time, these traits weren't just handed to him on a page, they came directly from his own interpretation. Now imagine an alternate Joey. A replacement might have made entirely different, probably far less warm choices. They might have leaned heavily into being a stereotypical ladies' man, or made him overly confident, really just playing up the typical struggling actor trope without that underlying essential heart.
Because the comedy is in the pauses. Think about some of Joey's absolute funniest moments throughout the entire series. So many of them aren't funny because of the actual words he's saying. They're hilarious because of his timing. Those specific facial expressions, that slow, creeping confusion that subtly appears on his face right before he finally realizes what is actually happening in the room. That is a highly specialized performance style.
And this brings us perfectly to the core definition of our explainer today, the ripple effect. It's how a single casting change alters character chemistry and shifts the entire tone of a series. We're looking at how this single point of divergence, literally recasting just one actor, starts to send progressively larger, absolutely undeniable shockwaves through the entire ecosystem of the show.
Section 3. The Chandler dynamic, and a very delicate balance.
This is arguably the absolute most crucial comedic duo in the whole series. Introducing a completely new actor into this specific relationship is incredibly risky. Genuine, bouncing-off-the-walls chemistry simply isn't something you can manufacture overnight in a rehearsal room. And this brilliantly illustrates why their relationship worked so exceptionally well. You have Chandler, sarcastic, deeply insecure, constantly grounding the scene in reality. And then you have Joey, straightforward, boundlessly optimistic, constantly throwing out absurd ideas. When Chandler made a joke, Joey reacted in a way that amplified it perfectly. If you introduce a brand new actor's energy into this finely tuned machine, that playful banter might never feel the same, and that perfectly balanced dynamic, it gets totally destroyed.
Section 4. The ensemble ripple effect and shifting dynamics. Let's move outward and see how this builds, because Joey's impact obviously didn't stop with Chandler. His distinct relationships with the other 4 characters were equally vital to the show's foundational DNA. Replace Joey, and literally every single one of these interpersonal dynamics changes instantly. With Rachel, he evolved into a trusted, deeply caring friend who really supported her during major life shifts. With Phoebe, he shared some of the show's most wonderfully bizarre, almost surreal interactions. For Monica, he constantly served as essential comic relief during her more intense, high-strung moments. And with Ross, Joey provided a refreshingly simple perspective that perfectly countered Ross's constant, exhausting overthinking. A recast makes every single one of these scenes feel slightly different. And let me tell you, in a show driven entirely by ensemble chemistry, different is a very dangerous thing. Section 5. Rebuilding audience trust and finding the emotional center. Despite his mainstream reputation as just the funny one, Joey was actually the genuine, fiercely loyal, emotional center of the series. He delivered some of the show's most heartfelt, grounded moments. Audiences completely trusted Joey, and they trusted him because Matt LeBlanc made him feel so incredibly genuine and safe. Because of that, a new actor faces an impossible uphill battle. Step 1. Viewers meet the new face. Step 2. They immediately, almost subconsciously, compare him to Matt LeBlanc. Step 3. The new actor must somehow rebuild that deep emotional trust entirely from scratch. That's a massive challenge in a long-running series. Television audiences form incredibly strong connections with familiar faces. We don't just evaluate the new actor in a vacuum. We constantly measure them against the beloved face we already know. It's a battle very few television recasts ever truly win.
Section 6. Cultural immortality versus success. Now, we do have to be fair and acknowledge that the show still might have succeeded with a recast. With truly excellent writing, brilliant storylines, and an otherwise incredibly strong ensemble cast remaining intact, a recast Joey definitely could have worked. So, the crucial point is exactly what this idea captures. Success isn't the same as cultural immortality. This show didn't become a global, decade-spanning phenomenon simply because the scripts were well written. It became a phenomenon because 6 specific actors created something together that felt entirely, unbelievably authentic. Each person brought hyper-specific qualities that literally couldn't be fully replicated by anyone else in Hollywood.
Because you remove one piece, and the puzzle changes forever. In this alternate reality, a new Joey might have gotten consistent laughs. He might have had truly memorable episodes and maybe even cultivated his own loyal fan base over time. But the global cultural landmark, built episode by episode, pause by pause, through Matt LeBlanc's specific performance, that simply would not exist. The magic of television history often rests on these exact, completely irreplaceable combinations. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought to chew on. If any one of the 6 friends had been recast, which change do you think would have had the absolute biggest impact on the show's legacy? It's a pretty fascinating thing to consider when you realize how delicate these ensemble ecosystems really are. Keep pondering that. And hey, if you enjoyed this explainer, please engage with the channel and subscribe so we can continue these thought experiments together. Thanks so much for learning with me, and keep questioning the timeline.